Hey guys, welcome back to another video today. I hope you guys are all having a great day. Now, as some of you may know, AMD just launched their new Ryzen 3 3rd gen processors, the 3100 and 3300X, and because obviously I can't get my hands on those, I'll settle for the next best thing: making a PC part picker list. If you guys do happen to know nothing about this new AMD launch, most of my friends, let me just give you a little bit of background knowledge. So AMD just announced their new budget processors. Like I said, the 3100 and the 3300X. The 3100 will go for $99 and the 3300X for $120. The reason the 3300X is launching at $20 more is because it ships with a single CCX layout compared to the 3100's dual CCX layout. What this means is that on the 3300X with the single CCX layout, the time it takes the cores to talk to each other will be reduced significantly, meaning much better performance for gaming and much better time for file exporting. Besides that though, the 3300X also ships with a higher base and boost clock. And the reason I am picking the 3300X for these builds is because the reasons I just mentioned. It's better. But if you do really want to save that $20 and maybe spend it for something like fans for airflow, then I think the 3100 could probably be swapped out for the 3300X in all of these builds. So what I'll be doing in this video is, with the Ryzen 3 3300X, putting together a list of 3 different builds you could do at 3 different price points. There'll be a cheap build, an expensive build, and a nice mid-ranger in the middle. For each parts list, I'll briefly go over each part to just give you a little bit of an idea of why I chose that part. The last thing worth noting is that obviously I'm not forcing you guys to buy any of these parts or telling you that you want these parts, so just don't get too mad at me in the comments. And with that guys, let's get into the first build. Alright guys, here we are on the cheap build, and obviously you probably don't need me to go over the CPU because all these builds are going to be the Ryzen 3 3300X. 3.8 gigahertz boost clock, quad core, 8-thread processor. So I guess just moving on to CPU cooler, for all these builds, since the Ryzen 3 3300X comes with a stock cooler, I figured I'll just use that one because it probably makes the 3300X a little bit more expensive anyway. So if we were just going to swap that out and use a different one, I think that would probably be a little bit of a waste of money. Next, we have the motherboard, and this is kind of interesting because I just watched a TechSource video with the 3300X and this exact motherboard, which on the box claims it is ready for 3rd gen Ryzen. However, this one on Amazon or on any site, I couldn't find anything saying this was ready for 3rd gen Ryzen. This was even the link on the TechSource video, and this board still doesn't say it's ready for 3rd gen Ryzen, so I don't know what's up with that. However, just flash the BIOS and you'll be all good to go with your 3rd gen processor. For the memory, we've gone with what I would say is the best deal for 16 gigabytes of RAM you can currently get right now. It is the G.Skill Ripjaws V, I guess, but it is 2 times 8 gigabytes of 3600 speed for only $73, which is completely insane. My memory, 3000 speed, 16 gigabytes, $110. So, and that was on sale too. So obviously memory prices have gone way down and I love it. I hope they don't go up again, even though I can't really take advantage of that because I don't really have the money to buy a new system right now. For the storage, this build, just a simple 512 gigabyte from Team Group. I also think this is an amazing deal because it is the cheapest 2.5-inch drive with 512 gigabytes of space. Only $55 for this drive. Again, like I said, insane deal. I don't think you'll find a cheaper SSD with the same amount of storage anywhere. And for the graphics card, we have one of 2 options, I would say, that you could choose. I think you could also go with the RX 580, which will be a tiny bit more expensive, but it will perform pretty much like a 1650 Super. So for this build, we've gone just NVIDIA 1650 Super. So $160 for this 1650 Super. I believe it is the cheapest 1650 Super, but it has the best specs for that price. So like I said, $160, and I think this is definitely a great deal, especially because this performs like a 1060, which I have in my PC, sadly. But anyway, I bought this for around $250, and now with this being almost $100 cheaper, it just shows that, I mean, graphics card prices have gone down too, which is also great. And for the case, not too proud of this one. I definitely wouldn't recommend buying this case. It is okay. It is, however, the cheapest micro ATX case, and to save money, I had to go with it. However, it does come with, I believe, 2 intake fans, possibly 3, not 1 intake, 1 outtake fan. So that's pretty good. I mean, for a $58 case, you're probably not going to find many that have good airflow. This one, though, maybe I would recommend not getting that, but you'll see in the next build we do have a little bit of money to upgrade the case. So again, okay case. I wouldn't really recommend it for any other PC unless you're trying to save a lot of money. And for the power supply, I have no idea why, but power supply prices have gone up significantly since I'm pretty sure it's the COVID outbreak. But anyway, a few weeks ago, this would have been $50, maybe $45. Anyway, it's a Thermaltake Smart BX1 550 watt 80 plus bronze unit. Definitely should not be $65. That has been inflated a ton over the past few weeks. I have no idea why. Maybe a shortage of something that you make power supplies with. But anyway, I have no idea why it's going to be that expensive. However, this is the cheapest 550 watt 80 plus bronze. And I thought 550 was good because it gives you a little bit of room to upgrade. As you can see, the estimated wattage is only 250. So if you do want to maybe get more RAM or even switch out the CPU down the line, which is the opposite point of this video, but it does give you a little bit of room to do that. And guys, I almost forgot, but for the price of this complete system, we have $600 just about. I know that says $483. However, the Ryzen 3 3300X has no prices available. So just add a $120 to that and it'll be around $600, which honestly, I wouldn't really recommend spending less than that if you want a system that can play pretty much every game. If you do want to play games that are way less demanding though, like League of Legends, you could spend literally $100 to build a system and still play League of Legends. However, for most games and better games, this is going to be pretty much the least amount of money you're going to want to spend on a system. So that is why this at $600 is the cheap option. All right, guys, moving on to the mid-range build. Again, for the CPU, Ryzen 3 3300X. Like I mentioned, that's going to be the CPU in every system because that's the point of today's video. Again, like I mentioned last build, CPU cooler. Also, we're just going to use the stock cooler because it's definitely capable, especially for this CPU. I believe it's the Wraith Stealth, so definitely a pretty good, beefy CPU stock cooler. For the motherboard, I've actually gone with the same one just because it's only $73. And although you do have to flash the BIOS, once you do that, it'll definitely be worth it for that price. Again, like I should have mentioned last build, you can't do too much overclocking on this motherboard, but you can't do too much overclocking on the CPU anyway. It wouldn't really increase the performance by that much because, I mean, the performance isn't as good as a high-end CPU, so the amount of performance you can squeeze out of an overclock really wouldn't be that much to justify spending another $30, $40 on a better motherboard to get better overclocks. I would also definitely recommend overclocking the graphics card if you want a better gaming performance anyway. For the memory, I know it looks the same. However, I believe this is CL16 memory cast latency instead of CL18 memory like the last build, so it is going to be $10 or $11 more expensive. However, we have that money because it is a mid-range option and not the cheapest you can build it. However, still 2x8 gigabytes, still G.Skill Ripjaws, still 3600 speed, still great memory. And for the storage, same drive as the last build. And I believe I'm also using this in the expensive build, but we have added a hard drive. However, for the mid-range, I figured maybe you could buy the mid-range first, and then maybe like a year or so down the line, you could buy a hard drive to maybe store games you don't play as much on, because you'll probably run out of that 512 gigabytes within a year, I'm assuming. However, still $55, still 512 gigabytes, same drive. It's going to be great for about the first year, and then I would definitely recommend a hard drive. However, this is just going to be like a buy it now PC and play a few games, so I'm not including the hard drive right off the bat. For the graphics card, we do get a little bit of an upgrade. Instead of a 1650 Super, we've gone with a 1660 Super. Again, I'm pretty sure this is the cheapest you could buy a 1660 Super for, but this is going to be a pretty big upgrade from the 1650. And for the case, we've gotten a pretty good upgrade. We added the GameDiaz Talos E1 Micro ATX Mini Tower case. Now, you may recognize the name GameDiaz Talos because this is the GameDiaz Talos M1. That's the ATX version. However, this is the E1, so pretty much going to look about the same, but be micro ATX. So great case. I definitely recommend it. Great build quality for only $80, which is a really good deal, I think. For the power supply, I've kept the same one as last time because, like I mentioned, power supply prices have gone way up over the past few weeks. I don't know why again, but this is, again, the cheapest 550 watt, 80 plus bronze certified, which is probably the base spec requirement I would recommend for this PC. So maybe if you want a little bit of an upgrade path, maybe go with 600 or 650. However, I think right now for 550 watts, $65 is going to be decent. And coming to the overall price of this build, it is $586, but let's remember the 3300X has no prices available, so it's actually going to be more like $700. I think for a mid-range option, that's pretty good. For the 3300X, it's going to be about a mid-range build, but maybe for any budget of any parts, any CPU, it might be more like a low-end mid-range. However, for $700, this is going to be a great system, and I think anyone who buys this will definitely love it. Also, guys, keep in mind, every part from every system mentioned in this video will be linked in the description down below, and because they are Amazon affiliate links, it means I will receive a small kickback from anything purchased off those links, not even the product that the link brought you directly to, but any product as long as you just use the link. So if you guys want to directly support my channel, I would recommend using those. All right, and finally, we've gotten to the most expensive build. And again, starting with the CPU, same one as the other two builds. Ryzen 3 3300X, CPU cooler, again, stock cooler, same thing as the other two builds. Now let's move on to the actual changes, the motherboard. So for the motherboard, we've gone with the MSI B450 Tomahawk Max. And the first thing you're going to notice probably is that we have gone ATX. Not micro ATX anymore, but an ATX motherboard. So with this, you're going to get much better power delivery for overclocking. So if you want to try overclocking, I would definitely recommend it, although I haven't on my PC, so maybe don't do it. But the B450 Tomahawk Max, I would really recommend for any price system if you're going to go with Ryzen 3rd gen, just because it's one of the best bang for the buck motherboards right now, only $115, and it gets the features that high-end motherboards have. For the RAM, looks like we've gone with the same one, but I accidentally included the CL18 instead of the CL16, so maybe we should fix that. Alright, so same memory as the last system, 16 gigabytes, 2x8 gigabytes, 3600 speed, CL16 memory. Super good, especially for $84. Gonna be some of the best memory you can get with those specs, and it's the cheapest you can get. So that says something. Great job, G-Skill. Great job to whoever buys this, because it's great memory. Now for storage, you can see we do have the same 512 gigabyte SSD from the last two systems. However, this time I've added a Seagate 2 terabyte hard drive right off the bat, because this is just going to mean you don't have to buy one later, and you can store some games and files on it that you don't use often. It's just going to be awesome, and most likely if you're not a video editor or something, you're never going to use up that 2 terabytes. Moving on to the graphics card, we have picked the Radeon RX 5700 XT, and this is pretty much the best graphics card I would recommend for the 3300X, because although it is a good low-end processor, it is still a low-end processor. So getting a much better graphics card would probably cause bottlenecking, and obviously that's not good. So the 5700 XT is probably one of the best graphics cards you would probably should get with the 3300X. However, this is the cheapest 5700 XT I could find, $367. So I would probably recommend going with a different one, because this one's pretty ugly, but the 5700 XT is going to be a great card. Slightly outperforms the RTX 2060 Super, which I actually picked this one over. However, if you do want like RTX, like real-time ray tracing, I would recommend a 2060 Super. And for the case, we've gone with something actually cheaper than the last Game Diaz case. However, I still think it's going to be better, because NZXT cases, let's admit it, you really can't beat them. They look amazing, they perform amazing, and they are just really good overall. So here I've gone with the NZXT H510. If you do want some RGB, maybe go with the H510i. However, this is a great case. I would say one of the best for only $70. And the power supply, same as the last two systems. Thermaltake Smart BX1 550 watt 80 plus bronze power supply, $65. Again, that should be $45, $50. However, that's fine. Actually, maybe I should go with like a 600 watt for this, but I'm going to stick with that. It just means that if you do want to upgrade something, maybe get a different power supply as well. And for the total price of this system, it's going to come out to $810. However, remember, with the no price available on the 3300X, it's going to make it $930, which is pretty good. I mean, not really high end. I would say that's more mid-range. However, if you're using the 3300X, this is pretty much the highest specs I would go. So $930 is pretty expensive, almost $1,000 with only a $120 processor. And yeah, that is the last system. Alright guys, that is going to wrap it up for these parts list. I hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did enjoy, a sub and a like would be massively appreciated. And if enough people subscribe, maybe next time AMD launches new processors, they'll consider sending them to me. Definitely not though. After subscribing, make sure you guys turn on the post notifications so you can watch every upload the second I upload it and you never miss a video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of the parts list. Obviously, there are things you would change. And again, I'm not forcing you to buy any of these things, so just, again, don't get too mad in the comments. But if you do have any suggestions, questions, comments, just let me know, because you are guaranteed a response. I do still reply to every single comment. This is just until I get way too many comments to reply to, but as of now, I'm going to reply to your comment, anything you say. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one.